So welcome everyone to today's midnight training session. Today we'll be going over the CRM module. In here, we'll be showing you how to add new customers and contacts, how to edit existing customer records, how to add customer-specific pricing, set some default information that populates data upon the creation of new estimates or orders, and finally, a quick look at our reporting tools, which catalog, display, and set up for print the majority of the common information pieces that you're going to be requesting. Before we jump into the CRM module, I'm going to take a look at the admin menu, in which we'll go over some of the drop-down handlers for several of the choices that we'll be looking at during the session. Starting in our global settings, we have a couple of options within the CRM submenu. In here in particular is our new customer email notification. As new customers are created, Midnight will not have any sort of direct connectivity between itself and your accounting software of choice. Using this allows you to automatically send an email with general information regarding a customer record to your accountant, lead accountant, or whoever else may be in charge of that information, to make sure that within your QuickBooks, Peachtree, or other accounting program, that everything is able to be set up well in advance, and that the import of data across platforms occurs as seamlessly as possible. Additionally, within the Estimates and Orders tab, there is an Auto Update CRM Info on Copy button. When this feature is checked, it makes it so that way if you were to copy an estimate or order, after having updated the customer's information, for instance, to accommodate whether or not they have moved, relocated, changed tax information, or modified pertinent data as far as default sales rep or CSR info, postage info, mailer ID, customer registration ID, etc. All of that will be updated upon copying the older job to reflect the current data within the customer's record. Additionally, in here we have the ability to default your customers as prepayable. Within Midnight, you can typically extract customer information for an order upon closing the job, and only upon closing the job. If you have this box checked, then when you create new customers, that info can be extracted out at any point. And regarding these, for contract pricing and customer-specific pricing, you can set up specific pricing logic for a customer or for a contract within a customer. These will trump the administration menu's standard service for global pricing. So if you need to take advantage of setting up a deeper level of pricing within the customer record, these allow different methods in which you can view, filter, and select the line item data for the customer's jobs as you enter them. One other thing that can be customized on a customer level to a degree is within the accounting postage accounts list. If you plan on using Midnight for not only sales and invoicing, but also for payment tracking, then when receiving payments within Midnight, you will need to be able to assign the funds provided to you from the customer to a specific postage account for that customer. The general accounts can be created here under the admin menu's postage account submenu. And in here, you'll see that I have a few general instances for FedEx, UPS, just general account information, and a couple of others. These are given a name and description, the description being what you see on the entry forms in which you fill in the data. The item code and GLID are data elements which correspond to your accounting software. So be sure to have your accountant fill out this information. If you need to edit one of your records that currently exists here, clicking the edit button opens everything up, so that way you can make your changes as you need, allowing you to modify the name, description, code, deal ID, and also determine whether or not it should be assigned to a customer upon creation as a default account or not. And finally, whether or not it is active. Alternatively, if you wish to deactivate a customer's postage payment account, you can hit the X button here to delete it. Bear in mind, though, that this will attempt to delete any instance of this account across all customers that have it. And if it exists on customer accounts, you will not be able to delete it freely. Finally, if you wish to add a new instance, you can fill in your information for the new postage payment account in the bottom dark gray row here. And upon completion, click the Save button to commit that record to the storage table. This is a feature present in the majority of the administration menu handlers, so if you decide that you want to go over this with adding new elements of data, or by taking advantage of the search filters to search and sort for data pieces that make more sense for what you're looking for, the controls up here are the same through virtually every area, and I will simply go over just this one time here. Next up for customer information, we have the contact type. Within the customer records, you can generate and create micromanage your contacts for your customer entry. Within each customer, you can create a contact, and the contact type in which you see here is what you can categorize your contacts as. This contact type is only used for general information purposes and has almost nothing to do with actual logic or pricing determination or anything like that. Under the CRM menu here, we have customer type, which is effectively the same thing as contact type, in which you can define the type of customer that you have, taking advantage of our customer and prospect, which already exists in your template data if you'd like. We also have the customer source, in which you can use to determine and define how you acquired the customer. The industry, letting you define what sort of industry your customer is associated with. And the activity type, which lets you define the activities when generating an activity record for a customer, such as a call, email, message returned, meeting, etc. The activity types for pending and closed are all maintained here in the same list and categorized by the status code here, meaning for completed activities or an activity that would mark something as complete, when you go into your activity record within the customer's account and change it from a pending, such as outstanding call, and mark it as called out or message returned, these would clear off of your outstanding activity schedule. Under the delivery methods submenu, we have the choice to define your default or available options of delivery. If you need to ship items back to your customer or vendor, you can set the default delivery method to the individual customer record, but this is where the options are all created. Under the estimates and orders submenu, there is the terms and conditions list. Within here, you can create and assign terms to your individual customer records. Once these are generated and assigned to your customer, then when you create a new order for that customer or an estimate for that customer, then the terms that you have assigned to their record carry straight into those jobs. Bear in mind, the code and also the days till due correspond directly with accounting programs such as QuickBooks. So make sure to be careful when entering those in, making sure that they're not only typed letter for letter, but also in case-sensitive formatting. Finally, I'd like to show you our user-defined fields, or UDFs. Across every core module of Midnight, such as the CRM, orders, inventory, purchase orders, etc., you have the ability to create your own fields, which can be utilized to store data, track information, or just convey messages to your individual users or your team. Each core module has an available selection of up to 30 user-defined fields that can be set up and generated per instance. In these UDF screens, you can pick the module, in this case customer, that you'd like to assign your UDFs to. And to activate one, clicking the edit button for the row, giving it a label name, selecting what type of field it is, be it a date, a text, or maybe a numeric field like an integer or decimal value. And then filling in limits for how long or how many characters can fit within that particular cell are. And if there's any default data, such as if you want a select to appear, or if you would like instead to provide a list of options using the open and close carets for your list command and separating your options by pipe delimiter. These options obviously won't be available for a date instance or a time instance, but they can be available for your text and your numeric-based options. Now, when I click the CRM button to access our customer service module, customer record, we're brought to our primary search screen. This is where a list of all of our active customers are, but also the inactive customers can be found by changing this active checked to unchecked. This, along with many of the other filters that you see at the top, allow you to change how exactly you search through your data, assuming that your data has enough instances of customer record to be searched through. In many of these cases, you'll see a funnel button to the right side of each open text container for a column. The funnels here allow you to define what exactly it is that you're using as far as a search filter goes, such as a beginning with, containing, does not contain, and with some other options for other records, such as equals or does not equal the exact value of, in this case, Bellevue. You can use many search filter here, and if you click the the clear button, then you'll clear out every search filter that has been used up until this point. And you can also click the individual column headers to change your sort method from ascending to descending order. And in order to reset this, clicking the Reset Filters button in the upper right resets everything back to its default method of sort. If you need to search for information a little bit more detailed than what you see here, you can click the Extended Search button. This opens up an option which allows you to run searches for several UDFs, up to 3 of your own choice, in which you select the user-defined field that you'd like to do a search for, and then a value in which you'd like it to go through to find. Additionally, you can check the Display Contacts checkbox. So that way the primary contact for your customer records are listed. And do bear in mind that if you take advantage of either the parent company names search and sort here, or the individual user-defined fields, you do need to click the Submit button to commit that individual extended search option. Under the quick links, or via the buttons here in the sub menu of the CRM options, you can access your activity calendar, and you can also take advantage of accessing the contract pricing menu, which I'll be going over both in just a few minutes. And finally, if you click the button on the left to show your recently visited, Your 10 most recently visited customer records based on your individual user account will display in here, allowing you to switch from one computer to another and see that information accordingly. Again, this is user specific, meaning if I log out from my login here in my Midnight and someone else on our side logs in on my same computer, their most recently visited will populate here instead. To add new customer records, there's 2 ways to accomplish that. You can either click the new customer button here, or you can click the customer quick add button listed either in the quick links of the CRM screen or within the estimates or orders themselves. The customer quick add generates a small form which allows you to fill out general information about a customer record, such as their code, name, address, their tax jurisdiction, usable and very important for invoicing, and a few other pieces such as their terms and conditions, an email if they have one, a company, which allows them to have a correct logo displayed on their invoices and estimate reports, and whether or not you want their address listed here to be utilized as their billing and or shipping addresses. I'll go over it in this case by just filling out a few basic options. You take note that each customer record, as they're added into the system, does have to have its own unique customer code. You can have the customer names for several of your customer accounts be the same, as long as the code is different in each case. No other values in here are absolutely necessary, but a customer code will always be needed. And if you try to edit a customer code to match that of another one, under the assumption that you have since deactivated the original customer record with that customer code, you will find you'll be unable to use it. Now that I filled out some of the general information for a customer, I can pick the Save and Close button to commit the record. And now we can select that customer account from the main screen. Oops. My audio cut out there. I'm sorry. I think my plug came loose. I just fixed it. I'm going back over things really quick in case you didn't hear it. The 3 unique fields that you'll see in the upper portion of the customer record include the creation date, which is created to mimic the time in which you create your customer record, the prepay and active checkboxes, which both allow you to determine whether or not a customer's orders can be extracted out of Midnight before the job has been closed, and whether or not they're an active customer to begin with. And also a reports list, which when opened up can give you the option to view your customer data in a variety of listed formats, are all available in here compared to the quick add method. Under the Details tab, you'll see some which existed in the quick add, such as CSR and sales rep, and others such as parent company, alternate code, and permit number, which did not. The parent company logic allows customers to share inventory with each other. The other pieces of info in here, such as the account status, customer type, etc., don't have any real bearing on logic within Midnight. The sales rep and CSR are important for several of our reports, such as our sales reports by sales rep, or by utilizing the search filters within many of the screens, such as estimates or orders. And if you'd like to add data such as nonprofit authorization numbers or permit numbers, you can fill a default instance within the permit number cell, or whichever cell it corresponds to. And if they have more than one, you can click the green button with a plus in it to give you access to a few further options of permit number, along with a couple of other available choices for more detailed selections. These, when added in here, become available within the drop-down, and this drop-down will be available on the orders when the customer has a job set up for themselves. Additionally, the user-defined fields that we saw in the admin menu, in this case my opportunity type and sales stage, for instance, all can be seen within the customer record here. As you create more, they'll continue to organize themselves in a 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. fashion. The account warning, when marked as active, will generate a pop-up within the estimate or order screen whenever you create a job or an estimate for a customer. These account warning messages can vary with anything such as give the customer special treatment or customer is overdue for payment. And this is an effective way for your accounting team to communicate back and forth with your sales team to make sure that when they're adding a new customer, they know anything that they need to do in terms of getting specialized information ahead of time, following any specific rules, looking for any clients or specific names within the client agency, etc. This warning message will not prevent your users from creating new orders or estimates. It's just there for information purposes. And finally, within the details screen, the tax details menu determines whether or not a customer is taxable. If they are marked as taxable, then the jurisdiction listed here will be placed into the order, and any of the tax info pertinent through the tax jurisdiction will summarize into the taxable services or line items on the order itself to provide you with a calculated tax on your estimates and orders. Other key areas in here include the shipping and billing tab. Within this tab, you can define the default shipping address and billing address. You can quickly pull the info straight from the header as you update it by clicking the Same as Above buttons, or you can manually insert the data as it is required. Do take note that the ship via within the shipping address can be unique for each customer and cannot be defaulted in any other way. And if left open, will simply not convey a default to your orders when the job is prepared. The Locations subtab allows you to fill out an available list of multiple shipping locations that a customer location may have. For instance, if you're utilizing a customer that's a corporate agency, and there are several sub locations within that customer's account. We have a Notes column, which is just that, a simple notes carryover. And we also have the Contacts list. Within the Contacts list, you can create new or modify pre-existing contacts. By doing this, the most important thing to take note of is the first and last name, as they are what you'll see across your various areas of drop-down selection. the address info, which can very easily be defaulted to the company record, and most notably of all, the business email for that customer record. The business email, when you're preparing to dispatch estimates and invoices out from midnight, is what will be utilized when you select that this contact is the recipient. So it's important to fill that out if you plan on emailing that particular customer's contact straight out of midnight. Other tabs in here, such as the pricing tab, I'll be going over in a future session. In short, you can customize pricing for your customer record with a provided rate, which overrides the global rate, minimum price, which overrides the global minimum price, or discount, which applies itself on top of the global price listed within the admin menu. Contracts is a similar tactic. You can create new contracts, which define specific methods of pricing for a service or group of services. Postage accounts corresponds to the admin level postage account that we mentioned earlier, in which your customers, when making payments, can store their funds with you within this particular account or accounts as you provide. The balance will calculate itself out here. And if you need more details, you can look in the Tools Postage submenu to determine exactly where the money is coming from that you see within these accounts. The Attachments tab is useful for storing information such as whether or not they are tax exempt, and if so, documentation that states it, listing any types of specific PAs or purchase agreements that have been provided to you by the customer account, etc. The Open Estimates and Orders tab allow you to see whether or not any jobs are marked as open for a customer, or in the case of the Orders tab, you can also see closed orders. And just a little bit of info about them, such as the job name, the entry date, the default sales rep and CSR for that job, and the expected quantity that's been ordered. Within this menu, if you have an estimate or order being referenced, you can click the order number, and it will bring you straight to that order. Finally, of note, we have the pending and history tabs. Within these two tabs, we have the ability to schedule activities or review previously completed activities. The pending tab's schedule activity button, when clicked, provides you with a small menu that allows you to pick a contact and what it is that you're doing with that contact. If they have an estimate or order that you're doing this in reference to, you can fill out those choices based on the available options from the customer's open estimates and orders list. If you happen to be an administrator or sales manager type role, you can create these activities and actually select who it is that you want to be responsible for that activity. You can pick the date and time in which you need it to take place, and whether or not you want a reminder to show up on their midnight screen at a certain time interval based on what the activity is. Finally, the email address and phone number are loaded in from the customer's contact record, and any comments or descriptions on the notes for the activity can be placed in here. After you list your activity, you'll see that it's provided within the pending tab as incomplete. And if you were to take a look at your open activities page, you would see that there would be an outstanding activity for that customer contact for that particular employee that's assigned to. In this case, you can see that my JTest account has it set up to contact Steve Thompson at my Wiesner Chevrolet. And if I need to see more details on it, I can click the customer record to be brought back into it. Within the customer record, we have the complete button available. We can also do that here. By clicking complete within the customer record's open activity or pending activity, That will provide us with an option to fill out details on how the activity itself was completed. If you'd like to schedule a follow-up activity, which generates a secondary option, and can put in any core information for the activity that needs to be listed. The complete can be provided with a time and date so you can track when the work was done. And the action will be marked as completed if you actually plug a result, which will call it off. Look in our history tab. Now we can see the options of what it is that we just did, and we can create new activities as we need. And we can also use the add an activity button to plug in something that was already done without having to go through the process of adding it and then completing it. If you take a look at our real-time activities calendar, this will show a slightly more detailed list in terms of who is doing what. In here, we can see the results of anything that has been considered completed. And if something has not yet been completed, something without a result would be assumed to be open, and information for who it involves and who they need to contact can be all listed here. Finally, we do have a few reports that you can view this data through. Within your customer accounts reports button, you'll see that you have an account. You'll see that you have a report that allows you to see a handful of information. We have one that shows you the activity in which has been completed for a customer. We should see a general summary of data for the customer record and the activities that have been done for them. We have an open report for pending activities, which is effectively the same thing, only lists the outstanding work for contacting and maintaining efforts through that customer account. And we have a couple of different customer lists, including the customer shipping locations, which provides a list of all locations for that customer record, a customer list with contacts, or just a general customer list without contacts, and also a customer list export, all three of which have their varying uses depending on your needs and workflow. Do be in mind that the customer list export was designed to extract data directly into programs like CSVs or Microsoft Excel. In order to extract that data out, you can go to the Save Microsoft Excel for an Excel file, data file for a CSV, or simply a PDF if you'd like to print it or email it. After extracting your data, you can feel free to manipulate and adjust it within your program of choice once it's been pulled out. These reports do not have to be accessed through the customer record themselves. They can also be set up in such a way that they can be accessed through the reporting module. Although bear in mind that the history items and pending items reports, which base themselves on the customer that you access them through, will not be accessing a customer and therefore will not have any data to display. The others, such as your customer list and customer list with contact email reports, those will show up with data just fine. With all that said, that concludes today's training on customer data within the CRM. I'll go ahead and wrap up everything, unmute everyone, and open the panel up for Q&A.